So you're thinking about moving to Tampa, Florida. Well, today in this video, guys, we're gonna be talking about some of the biggest cons that I hear all the time from people living in the Tampa, Florida area. So if you're interested in moving to Tampa Bay, don't hesitate to reach out. My information will be linked down below in the description box. And without further ado, let's get right into the video. Here are the worst things in no specific order. And the first one, we're gonna start off with the weather. So let's talk about the humidity. Florida is one of the most humid states in all of the US, with the average dew point being 63 degrees. So to give you an idea of how the humidity works in Florida, every time you wake up and you walk out your door at 7 a.m. in the morning, if you have sunglasses on or glasses, as soon as you walk outside, those glasses are now going to be foggy and wet, and you're gonna have to wipe those off before you get your day going. And then when you get in your car, you're gonna have to use your windshield wipers to actually wipe down all the dew so you can see and drive. And because of this hot climate with all the humidity, we have some other things that are happening a lot in Florida, and that is the lightning. Florida is the lightning capital of the United States. It had 223 lightning events per square mile back in 2021. Then in regards to weather, we have the rain. And the rain is not too bad in the Tampa Bay area, but every summer in the months of June to October, we get some pretty heavy rainfall. So, a lot of the times people are looking to enjoy the beach. They're looking to go out and enjoy their summer. Most summers that I've had grown up in the Tampa Bay area, it rained a lot during the summer. So if you planned on going to the beach during the summer, you definitely got to make sure you check the weather. But the rain in Florida is so sporadic. Essentially, most people in Florida, they're okay with doing whatever, even if it is raining, as long as there's just no lightning. Like the water parks are going to stay open if it's raining, like light rain with not heavy wind. Busch Gardens, amusement parks are going to stay open. As long as there's no lightning, most things are going to stay open. The next category is hurricanes. Florida is the most hurricane-prone state in the country. This state has been hit with 120 hurricanes since 1851. And the second most amount of hurricanes in any state since 1851 is Texas with 64, almost half. I have seen about one bad hurricane happen every year. And that will vary from the very bottom of Florida to the East Coast to the West Coast. So you kind of just got to be lucky and not be in one of those areas if a bad hurricane is coming, and definitely know what to do if a level 5 hurricane or category 5 hurricane is coming to your area and it's nearly 100% guaranteed. Then you definitely need to know how you're going to evacuate and what you're actually going to do in that situation. The next big issue that we see in the Tampa Bay area is bugs. And that is simply because of the weather. It's because Florida is one of the most humid states in the United States. That's why we have such a big bug problem. And that ranges from mosquitoes to cockroaches and palmetto bugs, ants, and even termites. Whenever you go outside around like 6 or 7 at night, when the sun starts to go down, especially if you're in an area that's surrounded by the forest or some body of water, whether it be like a little pond in your backyard or things of such, you are going to be eaten up by mosquitoes. Most people make sure that around that time that they're gonna go inside so they don't get eaten up by any mosquitoes or any bugs outside at that time. We have tons of cockroaches and palmetto bugs all throughout Florida, especially in the Tampa Bay area, and they can be up to like 3 inches long. This big. And not only can they be 3 inches, but they can actually fly. But honestly, as long as you make sure you keep your house, keep your car clean, you don't have trash everywhere, you're not gonna have to actually deal with cockroaches. They're usually in the grossest of places. Then there are termites. There are a ton of termites all throughout the Tampa Bay area. And it is so common that a lot of homes in the area, when people are purchasing them, if they see any type of wood rot or wood damage, it is very common 99% of the time, they're gonna get a termite inspection. Then in regards to the ants, I'm sure there's ants all throughout different places in the United States, but because our climate is so humid, we do have such a high number of, cockroaches, ants, termites, and it is so common. I don't think I know anybody who has never accidentally stood on an ant pile and they've crawled up their leg and bitten them a bunch. I don't think I know anybody that's never happened to. At least once. It's happened to me. It's happened to my brothers. It's happened to my father. It's probably happened to my dogs, but they can't talk, so I don't really know. And according to a national survey, homeowners rank Florida as the worst area for bug infestation problems, from cockroaches to ants to termites. Another issue I see all the time and I hear people complaining about is the traffic. It's mainly because there are so many people in the Tampa Bay area. There are so many jobs, there are so many amenities, there's the beaches, there are so many things to do. Therefore, there are a lot of people, and therefore there are a lot of cars on the road. There are so many cars and the traffic gets so bad during rush hour. Between that 7 to 9 a.m. time period, everybody is heading towards the city. They're heading towards Tampa Bay, Clearwater, St. Petersburg area from 7 to 9 a.m. So if you're heading that way, no matter where you're coming from, the traffic is going to be very, very busy from 7 to 9 a.m. And then from around 4 to 6 p.m. when everybody's getting off work Monday through Friday, the traffic is super busy driving away from the city, driving away from the Clearwater areas. Because that's where a lot of the businesses, that's where a lot of job opportunities are in this area. So people make sure to schedule around those busy times when they're driving either to or from the Tampa Bay areas. And then when you are on major roads, either the interstate or US Highway 19, you will often see lots of terrible drivers. And that will range from people that think they're going to be in Fast and Furious 10, drifting around everybody, or, barely even using their turning signals and driving probably 70, 80 miles per hour when the speed limit's 55, flow of traffic is 60, 65, and especially people on motorcycles. They will swerve in and all throughout different cars in the areas, especially in US 19. So you either have the people that are driving super fast, super crazy, or you have people that are like an old grandma driving really, really slow. Next, we have sinkholes. Tampa Bay is very well known for having sinkholes all throughout. And essentially what that means is that your home could potentially just fall right into the ground. It happens very often in the Tampa Bay area, especially in certain areas are even known and nicknamed some type of sinkhole type neighborhood. So that's why it's very important if you are buying a house in the Tampa Bay area that you make sure that you look at the sinkhole map to see if either that home has ever had any issues or if the surrounding neighbors have all had issues. So if you find one house and then all 10 of your neighbors all have either a repaired sinkhole or some type of issue in regards to a sinkhole, that's a great sign that your house probably is going to be on a sinkhole. And the last thing you want is to buy a house and then find out that it has a sinkhole and your value is going to drop like crazy. Or you're just going to have to spend a lot of money to fix it up. So that's why it's very common nowadays, especially in this hot market, for people to actually buy engineered repaired sinkholes, because you actually have a warranty stating that if there is any issues that they will come back out there and fix it, at least for 30, 50, 100 years, whatever it is, which sometimes you could actually argue that sometimes it's actually safer to buy a repaired sinkhole home because you know that it was fixed, right? Versus a home that you're not aware if there's a sinkhole or not, because it could potentially fall into the ground. There's not very many instances of homes that did have sinkhole activity and were repaired, of them actually falling in or having any issues really. Next issue is that it is very crowded, especially in downtown areas, which you could have probably guessed by the traffic issues that I talked about earlier. But if you go to downtown Tampa, downtown Dunedin, downtown Newport Richey, if you go to places like the beach, it's hard to find a parking spot. There are so many people in those areas. Oftentimes, sometimes too many people to where people actually don't want to be in those areas just because it is so crowded. I recently went with my fiance to the Strawberry Festival, and we were looking to go there and have a great time, try a bunch of foods, and we could not walk without being touched by someone. That's how many people there were. It was crazy. If you looked at it from a top view, it probably looked like a bunch of zombies were in the area. It was crazy. So if you're not comfortable in being in a crazy crowded environment like that, then I would say don't go to the Strawberry Festival. So you definitely got to know the right areas to go, because that is not the case everywhere. Like specifically downtown Newport Richey, which is definitely maybe a hidden, beautiful spot in the Tampa Bay area. It is nowhere near as crowded as somewhere like downtown Dunedin, especially on a big event night like we would call like Third Friday. I have traveled throughout the US quite a few times throughout my life. In high school, I wrestled on a national level team. We went all throughout the US, so I was able to experience, different states, a few different cultures based on those areas, and it seemed like the people in those areas were always nicer than people around Florida or people that I will know or grow up with. It's just a different type of vibe, I would say, when you're going to different states, especially places like Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, places like that. The more southern state, even though Florida is one of the most southern states of all states technically, because it's down below, we definitely do not fit into that category. Oftentimes, people don't talk to their neighbors. Based on my experience, that Florida people are not super friendly. I wouldn't say that they go out of their way to be mean though, but they just, are nowhere near as friendly as I've experienced with people in different states in regards to their hospitality, especially compared to some of those more southern states. Another issue that I've seen growing up in the Tampa Bay area, and this is something that probably everybody does not know, and it really depends on where you're at, but the streets do flood. It is common to see streets, especially during the summer months, actually flood and not be able to go down all the time. Whether it's just because they have a bad drainage system and they maybe built it on only hill in the entire state of Florida. I'm not too sure, but there are streets that will flood and you really can't drive through. So you got to be really careful, because, oftentimes it will get so flooded in certain areas that, it can flood your car if it gets up too high and you end up driving through it, or you can get some water damage to your home. Another issue I see all the time, and I experience this on the daily, is lizards. And no, I'm not talking about lizard people. I'm not talking about, the conspiracy theory that, the government may be run by lizard people. That's not what I'm talking about. I am talking about those little lizards that you see on your porch every time you go in the backyard. And I have lizards as a negative, but I actually think it's a positive. But maybe if you don't like little reptiles, which I get it. I really don't like any reptiles other than maybe a lizard. That's about the only thing, because they do end up eating all of the other little bugs. If you did have like little cockroaches, or if you did have spiders, which nobody likes those, I'm very much okay with letting the lizard stay in the backyard and protect the backside of the house or the different areas of the house. And it's just natural, I would say, in the Tampa Bay area for people to just live with lizards in their backyard. They're just okay with it. That's just, it's a common thing. And, nobody really freaks out about it, which, maybe other areas, if you go outside and you see a little, maybe like 2-3 inch little reptile, you might freak out, but it's definitely a very common thing in this area. Lizards are just like the Floridian squirrels, which we have those as well, by the way. The next terrible thing about the Tampa Bay area is that there are a ton of snowbirds and vacationers. Currently, there are 1.68 million empty homes throughout the state of Florida, which leads the entire US. And essentially what that means is, because Florida is the retirement state of the country, there are a ton of snowbirds and a ton of vacation homes, and currently now vacation rentals. Over 20% of the homes in the Tampa Bay area are completely vacant. And that ranges from a small percentage of investors that may just be holding it to a lot of snowbirds that will just visit every few months out of the year. And they'll come down when it's cold in the other states. And then in Florida, because our cold is 60-70 degrees, that's our cold version, which to me is freezing. And then during the summertime, when it's now 70-80 degrees in the other states, they'll go back to the other states. So that is a very common thing. So a lot of the condos, a lot of the 55 and up communities, half the people end up leaving for half the year and then coming back the other half. Or a lot of these homes are just sitting vacant because they want to have a vacation rental, because again, Florida is the #1 retirement state, so a lot of people believe in Florida real estate. They believe Florida is most likely going to be the next big boom. It's going to be just like California and New York. If you look at the things that we have in Florida versus what they have in different states, we have the same amount of amenities, if not more, and our real estate values are nowhere near those other states, right? We're not there yet, but I believe 10, 20 years from now, we will be just like California, and you will be able to buy a shack for $1 million. So that's a great reason to potentially buy now versus wait. And the last item on the list for reasons why the Tampa Bay area might not be the best is because of the wildlife. And yes, lizards is included in that category, but I wanted to give them their own category because we practically just live with them. But in regards to the wildlife, there are alligators all throughout the state of Florida, all in the Tampa Bay area. Most ponds, you have to worry about an alligator. You cannot let your little doggy, you cannot let your chihuahua go near the water, because there is a chance that there may be a gator in there, and the gator will eat the chihuahua. Then we actually have a ton of dolphins in the waters, which honestly, dolphins are beautiful. They seem to be very harmless, and a lot of times if you go to the beach, if you go out in the water, if you wait there long enough, you'll most likely be able to see a dolphin, which isn't necessarily a big negative, but in the water with the dolphins come the sharks. So you can't have one without the other. So we are surrounded by beaches everywhere, which means we are surrounded by sharks everywhere as well. But I would say alligators are way worse because they could get you in the water and on the land. Then we also have tons of manatees, which again, probably isn't a huge negative unless you hate nature. But a lot of places, especially in the Tampa Bay area, there's specific rivers and springs that are home to gigantic manatees, and you can actually go snorkeling with them, which is amazing. And they are massive. If you've ever gone snorkeling with one of them or you've ever seen them, it's almost crazy to think you can just go snorkeling with the manatees. They're the size of hippos for sure, or they're definitely not very dangerous. Then in Florida, we also have tons of snakes. I don't like being in forest areas or very swampy areas because there's a high chance there's gonna be an alligator or a snake. Again, I'm okay with having a lizard in my backyard on my porch. I would not be okay with having a snake on my backyard. I would be okay with a lizard. Also, I wouldn't be okay with an alligator on my backyard either, now that I think of it. Or a shark. I don't know how the shark got there, but I wouldn't be okay with that. Then there are also tons of panthers. I'm sure you've seen videos if you've looked in Florida, the beautiful wildlife. People can just be walking trails on national forest and you'll just see a panther walk by. You know, usually they won't attack, but they are scary. They are big cats and they definitely could. And there are also tons of black bears. Not really in the Tampa Bay area. I've not seen many, if not any, black bears, to my knowledge, if I can remember correctly, in any of the national parks that I've been in, but I know it is a very common thing in Orlando area, which is just a few hours away from here. And then also in regards to our wildlife, we have a ton of different bird species. So what does that mean in regards to the bird species? It means that you get to walk outside and you hear the most beautiful or most annoying noises you've ever heard. Really depends on what mood you're in at the moment, right? If you're having a good day and you're in a beautiful scenery, you know, of a backyard with a beautiful forest and you can just hear the nature, it is amazing sometimes. So that is it for the video, guys. Thank you so much for watching and sticking around all the way till the end. If you like that, do me a huge favor and like and subscribe for more content just like this. And if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. My information will be linked down below in the description, and I will see you guys in the next video.